Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the regular governing board meeting of the Jefferson Elementary School District. It's June 11th, 2014 at 7:05 p.m. Could we have members present, please?
Joseph Atidi.
Here.
Marie Brizuela.
Here.
Shaquille Ali.
Here.
Joseph Waters. Rebecca Douglas.
Here. And Mr. Waters will join us when the traffic allows him to. Okay. We need, Ms. McCullough, would you lead us in the pledge? I can't even remember who I asked last time.
Dan.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, could we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Nope. Okay, that brings us to our public hearing on the 2014-15 Local Control Accountability Plan. We will open the public hearing at 7:07 p.m. At this time, I do have a speaker card for Ms. Melinda Dart.
Good evening, Melinda Dart, AT, 3267. I just wanted to actually compliment the district and Ms. McCulloch on working through the LCAP process that was difficult to do because the directions weren't even clear when we had to begin it. And it really felt like for the first time, I think maybe ever, that many people had a chance to weigh in on the programs they felt were important. And what was interesting was that many people felt that the same things were important. And out of it came a vision for things to bring back. And while this is not enough, in other words, we don't consider all our funding problems solved, certainly it is great that instead of making cuts this year, we are restoring some of these programs. And this is largely due, I mean, it's almost completely due to the public having passed Prop 30 several years ago, so I'm very grateful for that and want to thank the public for that again. So I just wanted to put in that comment. And of course, in spite of all our best intentions, we still don't have enough nurses, and I wanted to make sure that everyone got a copy of the California teacher that talks about that issue. So I'll just give those extra copies too. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dart. Are there any other speakers wishing to address the Local Control Accountability Plan? As there are not, then we will close the public hearing at 7:09 p.m. And turn right around at 7:09 p.m. and open the public hearing on our fiscal year 2014-15 proposed budget. At this time, I do not have any speaker cards on that. Is there anyone who is racing to put in a speaker card? Did you want, was this your other one?
I was in there all the
Yes.
time.
Oh, you're right, you were down for 1 and 2, you're right.
Yes, I just wanted to say that when we do hear about the budget, we do hear, we did hear some thoughts last week about the budget and the idea that California was becoming not so friendly to business. I just wanted to reiterate some of my points that actually we have many people doing very well in business in California, and not every business is leaving California, and certainly not Chevron right now. And we value our partnership with Chevron, but as we look to the future, we do know that we're the only state that does not tax oil extraction. And so when we're looking for more dollars for education, that's something we really have to look at and think about, because the oil is not going to get up and go to another state. but it is a potential revenue that Alaska uses and other states use. Texas uses that oil extraction fee. We need to use taxes. It is to businesses' advantage to support education in California. And I think we all know that here, and we need to promote that idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Okay, then we will close that hearing at 7:11 p.m. This brings us to communications and administrator comments.
Yeah, I was able to go to 3 graduation ceremonies last week, and it was really nice to hear the kids speak and to see the community come out and see the huge long lines to get in and to be able to actually just walk in easily. That was very nice. But each year, it's really nice to see the kids promoted on to the high school and hopefully on beyond that.
I also wanted to comment on the graduations. I attended all 3 as well. And it was just exciting to see the pride in the students' faces and their families' faces. And it just reminds me of why I'm here and I do what I do. So I just want to congratulate all the graduates, and I hope they have great success in high school and beyond.
As far as hiring goes here at the end of the school year, part of having the budget being different is the ability to add some positions and then replacing people going into the new position. So if anyone is still interested in working at our middle schools, we are still seeking language arts teachers and social studies teachers.
Okay, do we have board member acknowledgments and commendations?
Well, like everyone else, I attended at the graduations, and I was just happy to see how many students were recognized for being honor students and having grade point averages of 3.0 and above. And just happy that we're sending off a great group of young people on to the next level of high school, and happy to see all of you here, too.
Mr. Ortega?
I want to thank Ms. Dart for giving us the magazine, and if I'm correct, this is Nurse Sandy Linebarger, who represents our district. So I want to thank her for having the courage and commitment to our district, and also having the courage to speak up. And as I always talk about, it is our civic duty for all of us to come together to speak up when there are issues. So once again, thanking everybody in the district, and the graduations were, in a word, awesome. Once again, it was quite exciting. I was impressed by the parents, the friends, the staff, and most importantly, the kids. When I took a selfie and took a picture of them, I could see that they were all rejoicing. So I hope they use it as an excellent launching pad to the next level from here, and ultimately to the sky and to the stars.
Okay. Well, I also, sound like a broken record here. I also attended the 3 graduations at Ben Franklin, T.R. Falsita, and Fernando Rivera. And again, they were wonderful. The students are great. Teachers are excited for them as well. And we had bands playing at 2 of the graduations. And Fernando Rivera, instead of having the band, they can no longer have the space to fit the band. But they did have 3 students. No, 3.
3 students.
3 students, yeah. 3 students play the saxophone, which is great. So anyway, that was really nice for them. Was it Ben Franklin? We had one of our teachers leading the Star Spangled Banner, which tore the house down. It's wonderful. And at Fernando, we had students that sang it. So we have very talented people, not only in our students, but also in our staff. And all of that just makes things go really good. But I wanted to also mention that at Ben Franklin, Bromer Property Owners Association did present 2 community service awards to 2 of the students, and hoping that they will continue their path of doing it in high school as well, and also to try and encourage all the students and the parents to volunteer in the community. At TRP, Hillside Homeowner Association does the same thing. They give 2 community service awards to 2 students as well. And But this year was kind of exciting because Teresa Perano, who's in that area, lives in that area, was able to, through her being involved with the Chamber of Commerce and other things in the city, she was able to obtain awards or scholarships, as she called them, for several students, and it was $250 for each one, which was wonderful. And so I wish we could do that for the other two schools, and we'll work on that. I also did attend TRP's annual dance recital performance, and unfortunately, at the last minute, they usually hold it at Jefferson High. At the last minute, they're working on a project over there, building something, and somebody must have hit the wrong pipe, and it flooded. So the poor kids had to, the last minute, change their format and whatever they're doing and come out. But you could not see that in their dances. It was perfect. And that shows you what troopers they can be. They danced in the gymnasium to a great audience, and that's how good our students are. They can do things and not worry about something an obstacle that was in their way. And also, this year, I attended the first annual graduation ball, they called it, and that was at Ben Franklin School. They had a buffet dinner. They had students and parents that came together. They looked wonderful in their almost formal wear, and there was wonderful prizes and great music going on, and the students had a great time. So we're hoping it will be an annual thing. Mr. Cervantes, the music teacher, is also in charge of student government there with the students, and he helped organize the event. So just to say, there's a lot of end-of-the-year stuff going on, and it's really exciting to see it all come to the end. And now when I drive down the street, there's no traffic when I'm going because all the parents aren't going back and forth. But I did want to mention also that one of our PTA moms, a big supporter of our district, a daughter was in a recital in San Francisco, and she invited a few of us to go, and we went. And once again, to see a child smile when you go to watch them, it just gives them all the confidence to do anything else they want to do. So we have to remember that whenever we have a chance to support our children. And I wanted to say one thing is thank you to our teachers for all that you've done, and even here tonight. And I hope those of you that are going to have summer vacation, I hope you enjoy it immensely. And those of you that are working, have a great time working. You know? But I just want to tell you that I'm sure that I speak for everybody here. We appreciate everything that you do. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to echo that. Of course, the graduations were great. I will say, at Fernando Rivera, they did not have the band there live, but I did notice the band had recorded Pomp
Right.
and Circumstance for
Right.
it. So they were there in spirit.
Yeah.
Which was as much as there was space for in that gym.
I know, it's terrible.
Yeah, and I think I'll reiterate my sentiments at the graduations, which is to the students and their parents, kick back, enjoy the summer, be safe, use that sunscreen and those helmets. Want to see everyone back. Join the summer reading program at the library, and if you're moving on to high school, do get an early start on the required summer reading. So that's all I have to say there. We have persons wishing to address the board. Melinda Dart.
Hi, I'm Linda Dart, AFT 3267. I want to just touch briefly, and I hope it will be brief, but I'll do my best, on the news right now, which is all about, this case and called the Vergara lawsuit and tenure. So a group that called itself Students Matter, founded by David Welch, who is a conservative Silicon Valley millionaire, filed that lawsuit some time ago. And as you know, the lawsuit challenges a number of constitutional rights for California teachers, including tenure, due process rights, and seniority rights during layoffs. So it's my belief that this lawsuit ignores the real problems of education, of public education. The premise of this lawsuit is that public schools are failing and that bad teachers are the reason why. And the premise is get rid of bad teachers and schools will be successful. But this is a very simplistic idea that is wrong in a number of ways. Actually, most public schools are successes, especially here in this district. I would call us a great success by most reasonable measures. And the role of teacher is always very important, but there are other factors at play, such as poverty and underfunding, that have had big impacts. Here are the facts about letting teachers go. During the first few years of a teacher's career, there is probation, and they can be fired for any reason by an administrator or for no reason at all. There is no need to give a reason. After that, the requirements are, after the 2 years, the requirements are for the administrator to document the problem and convince 2 out of 3 people on a panel to agree. And that's it. And I can tell you that I have helped counsel out probably 10 people in this district over the years. It is not the union's goal to protect bad teachers. Nobody wants bad teachers to remain in place. However, the right to a hearing before being dismissed is not unfair to students. To the contrary, students need stable, experienced teachers at school, but not a revolving door of administrators. So about that, what would happen if these rights are truly gone? And you probably know that there's an appeal, and while the appeal is going on, the rights remain in place. But tenure became law because people understood that political pressures and sometimes arbitrary actions of administrators could destroy academic freedom and even the right to teach. For instance, if you think back to the McCarthy era, right? And also there was a case in Los Angeles where Sal Castro, a historic figure, advocated for ethnically relevant courses for Latino students in LA, and he was dismissed for that. So people have been dismissed for advocating for students. For instance, if you think about today, what if a science teacher was teaching about climate change? Or what if someone was including Islam in a social studies or religious studies course? You might find places where that would be grounds for someone being fired. And here's another problem. Teachers that are tenured cost more. They simply do. They cost more money. And I can't imagine a struggling school who is trying to keep in budget not somehow being, influenced by that fact. So the wrong premise also in Vergara is that if we let people go or back in seniority order, that means bad teachers are kept, but good teachers are dismissed. But the problem with layoffs is not seniority. The problem is the underfunding that causes the layoffs, the lack of revenues. Honestly, when I see new teachers leave the district, which I see every spring after they get pink slipped, a few of them do go, it's the very fact of that pink slip and the uncertainty that drives them out. And sometimes the fact that they find a different position for whatever reason, sometimes having to do with salary. But I believe it's more accurate to say that low tax rates on the rich in our state actually was responsible for our funding crisis for public education and layoffs than to say that actually orderly dismissal rules were unfair in this process to new teachers. Seniority is a fair and transparent way to administer layoffs. It ensures equal treatment for all. It replaces any arbitrary authority there. As we look at research, more experienced teachers do provide good student learning outcomes, sometimes more than inexperienced teachers, but we all know that schools really thrive on a mix of both younger and more experienced teachers. Younger teachers have energy and they've had the most recent training. Older teachers bring wisdom and they have faced many different kinds of problems and learned how to solve them over the years. We need all those people in the classroom. So we, of course, will watch this play out over the years with the appeal. It could be years. But I just really want to make sure that everyone knows the facts about layoff, that if an administrator is going into classrooms for 2 years of a new teacher's career, they can, as I said, let anyone go in that time. And once that time period has passed, they can still let go teachers. They just need to justify it and have reasons why. And I'll leave you with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dart.
May I just say something on that?
Well, we don't respond, but
Well, under my comments. I just want to say that I was in the district here when it used to be that they literally put the names in a hat and pulled out the names to find out who would be released. And teachers were working here 12 to 14 years and were not permanent. And I had not realized that until it came to our attention. And luckily, that board at that time decided to say 2 years. And to see that it's going to be taken away, it's like we're going backwards. So I just want to say that for those of you that may not have known that we were faced with that.
well, that was beyond arbitrary.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think anybody would be advocating random
Yeah,
as a positive
Well,
approach to
yeah, but they're saying they don't even like the seniority.
Right.
Isn't that one of the
a whole
things?
nother
Well,
issue.
that's the debate,
Separate.
yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
so-
leave that to the courts tonight. We have correspondence and comments from the superintendent?
Yes. So in your mail packets, you might find the latest grand jury report that was released this week. And it's available on the grand jury website as well. The topic of the report this year is on the communication between charter schools and school districts. And so there's a fairly lengthy, I'm not going to say it's an academically accurate report and investigation, but there are some responses that we do need to construct. We will look at it and prepare a response for the board to consider in the fall as our reply. I also wanted to report that we did finish, we just recently conducted the Special Ed Department and Services review. Over 25 employees were interviewed as part of this review. We received an early report from the review team and just with broad brushstrokes identified some areas of continued strengthening for the department and for services, and the board will receive a report in the fall as well. That will identify some next steps for the board to consider, and many of those next steps will require allocation of resources.
Of course.
The other thing I just wanted to let you know, you may be aware of, I just became aware of this yesterday afternoon. The legislature is currently considering a measure that will limit the cap on district reserves. And at first, it sounds like a logical thing. They're limiting it to twice the minimum. But as you know, the minimum only gets us through 6 days of operations. So they're considering doubling that to 12 days maximum. And had this been the case 2 years ago, at this very same budget meeting, we would have had to make $2.1 million worth of cuts with the trigger cuts that were being held over us as part of Proposition 30 not passing. So while we believe that there are strategic uses to a reserve and we do need to spend it down, I think making it at 6% is too low, and I did express that to our legislators this afternoon as well. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Did it pass both houses?
It hasn't passed, it's just a proposal right now.
Oh, okay.
They're considering it,
So we have time to rally.
yes.
Okay.
So right now, the cap is 3%?
Right now, the minimum is
Minimum.
3%. There is no cap.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't want just 3%.
Yeah, had a cap been in place, we would not have been able to continue many of our operations the last 4 years because we would have had to predict and anticipate cuts instead of respond and use our reserves to spend that.
Because we wouldn't have been able to have had a reserve
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
interesting.
General functions. Brings us, need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, at this point, I would like to move, I meant to do this when we approved the minutes, but I wanted to move item 4, number 3, administrative appointments, up to this point so that we can,
For number 3?
yeah, so that we can celebrate.
Also, we have some guests here. Can we put them
Yes.
before the other stuff?
Yeah.
Trying to find out where they are.
They're all. So we have administrative appointment for 2014-15 of, I can't read it. Of Deanna Lujan, Vice Principal of Fernando Rivera School, and Catherine McKay, Dean of Academics at JF Kennedy School. And since I know Catherine
Wait,
McKay is
yeah.
here, that I wanted. Oh, and,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
great.
I'll make a motion that we approve administrative appointments for the 2014-2015 school year for Dana, is it Dana? Is that how it's pronounced? Okay, Dana. Lujan?
Lujan?
Lujan? H. Lujan, Vice Principal at Fernando Rivera, and Catherine McKay, Dean of Academics at JF Kennedy School. Did I get that right?
Yes. Do we have a second?
Second.
I won't read it all.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And I want to offer my congratulations and here's a round of applause. And if either of you would like to come up and say a word or two to the public and the board, that's your right at this point. Okay.
Good evening, JESD Board, School Board, and District Office Administrators, colleagues, and community members. I'm honored to have been chosen for the position of Dean of Academic Support at JFK and look forward to working with Mr. Harris and all staff. Now that the busyness of the school year has ended, it has really begun to sink in, especially after reading emails about RTI trainings and PDs that I will be attending. It feels exciting, special, and definitely more real. I will miss everyone at Daniel Webster, but I know that I will likely stay in touch, as I did with some folks at MHT when I left several years ago. I've stood at this podium quite a few times in the last few years in my numerous roles. As a teacher, working parent, and member of AFT 3267. With 100% sincerity, I can say that today I feel equally proud to stand here in another role as Dean of Academic Support. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dana Lujan, and it's a tricky name to get through, so thank you for working with that. It is quite an honor to be here this evening, and I'm really excited to be joining the school district. Leaving the County Office of Ed was an interesting choice, and I'm really excited to be directly connected with kids and looking forward to working at Fernando Rivera with Sabani and moving the district forward. Thank you.
that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, welcome. Okay. We'll mark off that I did that one. Okay, and now we have a presentation from SI&A, Attention to Attendance Update. Ms. Caro de Blasio. And I don't know if anybody needs to introduce that, or if that's a perfectly adequate introduction.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. My name is Cara de Blasio. I'm the executive coach for School Innovations and Achievement, Attention to Attendance. And we are happy to be here tonight, or I'm happy to be here tonight to share with you the fantastic work that everyone at your district, everyone on working with Sandy, the principals, the site staff are doing with Attention to Attendance. So I have some data, and this is attendance through May 5th, so almost full end-of-year report. And we're going to be going through some things, also some areas that we've identified for opportunities for going forward next year. I'm happy to announce that we've already got some training scheduled through Sandy's office for next year for the principals and attendance clerks, so we're excited about that. And again, this is the attendance through May 5th. So when we're talking about, creating that culture of achievement, which you've really done here at Jefferson, we're talking about starting that idea of showing up every day for school being so incredibly crucial. And in order to, increase that employee commitment and increase that parental and student engagement, you've got to have all of these building blocks in place. And you really have done this here at Jefferson. We've enlisted the organization. Everyone is doing the same thing. They're utilizing the same process, sending the same attendance notifications out to parents when their children are not in school. Communicating with families, communicating with your community, communicating results to you, supporting the effort, providing training, letting you know when we see areas that may need additional improvement, areas where we have some opportunities, measuring the right things, looking at the right data. Data is crucial right now. Attendance data, knowing who your chronically absent students are, knowing who your students are that are truant, who your students are that are excessively excused. That's crucial to know right now. So making sure we're measuring the right things and providing the oversight to you, providing you the data, providing you the reports, talking to you about what's going on at the district so that you have the opportunity to use that data to make actionable next steps. So again, when we're looking at this, we really consider you to be our partner. You're not just a client, you're not just a district, you are our partner. So when we're talking about what's gone on here in this first year on attention to attendance, you've really accomplished a lot. You've got that communication going out to parents and students early on in the process, early intervention, letting the parents know how many absences have occurred, what we can do to improve that attendance behavior, and again, where opportunities are for even more increased communication. We're talking about your LCAP plan, et cetera. LCAP and LCFF and knowing your attendance data, and it is more crucial than ever. And I know that again, I was really happy to hear Sandy called out for doing such a great job with your LCAP, and again, all of this, knowing your data, knowing your numbers, increasing parental and student engagement and employee commitment is so crucial to that LCAP and LCFF. You've got your staff engaged in a consistent process. All the letters are the same and the messaging to all the parents is the same from site to site. And you really have created this culture of achievement, and we're cultivating that. We're keeping that going with this idea of showing up every day. So when we talk about having, prior to coming on with attention to attendance, this is typically what we see for districts, is there isn't that consistent notification process from site to site with that attendance notification letter. You may not know which parents received a truancy notification, how many absences have added up, potentially not addressing those excessive excused absences consistently. And excessive excused absences also contribute to chronic absenteeism. It is not just unexcused absences. So we want to make sure that we're addressing those as well. We want to make sure we know who requires a conference, how many conferences have been conducted, and that, again, that chronic absentee report, your total absence summary, which we're going to show you in a few slides here, so that you can help identify which students are at risk of becoming chronically absent, which ones are on the tipping point of becoming chronically absent, etc. So now with attention to attendance, you've got the district-wide consistent process in place for notifying parents when their children are not in school. We're doing truancy notifications, excessive excused absence notifications, conference notifications, and you have the ability to schedule face-to-face conferences as well. Parents and students are being engaged early in the process. Again, you know who requires that face-to-face conversation, and you're part of our network of 1,400 school sites and 1 million students that are on attention to attendance. So that's a large data group that we can do comparative analysis so that you can see where you stand. We also have, again, comparative and actionable data, and again, fostering that importance of attendance, creating that culture of showing up here at the district, and you're really doing a fantastic job. So just to briefly remind you, the last time I was here, we talked about some of the implementation items that happened. So we kicked everything off on September 19th of 2013. We had our data robot that was installed. We customized all the attendance letters. We had quite a few in-person trainings, lots of training attendees, which was really great. We had your first attendance notifications that were mailed on November 13th, and since that time, we've been sending attendance notifications every 2 weeks. So again, as a,
What are
sorry,
in those notifications?
pardon me?
You said you send those notifications every 2 weeks? What are in those notifications?
Those are attendance letters that go to the parent that alert the parent of how many absences have been accrued by their child.
All right, so if it's 0, it just says 0?
If there's 0, then you don't get one. Yes. There's separate triggers for each of these notifications. So you have your initial notifications of truancy, your second notifications of truancy when absences continue to add up, and then the final notification of truancy once that student has reached a specific amount of unexcused absences. So these are the amount of attendance notifications that have gone out. I've got some numbers going further about the actual letters that have gone out and messaging that it's gone out to all students through the leadership component of this. And again, we've identified the area of conferencing that we want to focus on for next year, and this is very typical for a first-year district, is we want to make sure we're getting the letter process down and getting all those attendance notifications out to parents in a consistent manner. So lots of reports conducted, status reports to both your principals and to you here at the board. Chronic absentee reports, again, that's your total absence summary that contains that not only district level information and information for you as the district leadership, but also your sites receive their own chronic absentee report. So they can see exactly which students are chronically absent, how much school has been missed. Also, you know, there's students that are in excellent, satisfactory, manageable, and severely chronic. Intervention reports and communiques that have specific information to you, and also obviously the board reports. Again, lots of trainings and interventions and communication to and from our service team, and that's what we like to see. Your district is utilizing our service team to their utmost, and that's what we want to see, is constant communication between our service team and your district. So you've seen, as of May 5th, a 416% increase in parent communication over the year prior to utilizing attention to attendance. And again, we're sending those attendance notifications to parents every other week. So those unexcused absences are being addressed, your excused absences are being addressed, and then again, we've identified conferencing as an area we want to focus on for next year. In addition to that, we have also mailed over 11,000 pieces of communication to your students, and that's all students, regardless of their attendance behavior, from the superintendent on the importance of showing up, how important it is to be in school every day, positive communication to every parent, letting them know that we want their students here every single day. We've also addressed, and we'll get into this a little bit later, we've also addressed your students in the manageable group, which means those students are on the tipping point of becoming chronically absent. So we're intervening early before those students become chronically absent to make sure the parents are aware of how many absences are adding up. Again, conferencing is a very important aspect of working and communicating with families and parents. Want to make sure that this is an area that we focus on for next year, and we have identified this as an area, again, that we want to work on for next year. And again, this is very typical for a district that's utilizing A2A for their first year. First year is typically about getting that consistent process of the attendance notifications out to families, and then second year becomes where we focus more heavily on conferencing. So as you can see, we had 10 conferences that have been conducted so far this year, and quite a few that were due to be scheduled, but again, we're going to be utilizing the list of students that were eligible for conferences this year that did not get conferenced, and we're going to be providing that to your district so you can communicate with those students at the beginning of next year. Yes?
So what happens, I mean, why, we know someone needs a conference, why would they not have one?
It just depends. There could be an attempt to make a conference, but the parent wasn't available. It could be that by the time the student became eligible for a conference at the end of the year, there wasn't enough time. There's various reasons why.
So these are typical results, 10 out of 260 for other districts?
Sometimes we don't even get the 10. because it's just about getting the letters out. And again, working, next year we'll be working with the sites to make sure that they get those conferences scheduled and addressed. There can be an attempt, as long as there's an attempt that's been made, but there may not have been able to have that conversation take place.
So how do you know that the parents are actually getting the letters and reading it? Because
That's a good question.
do the kids sometimes get home early and get through the mail? And I mean,
That's
they do.
one of
we
the
know
only
that.
things we can't control.
No, I know, but-
Students that are helpful with
But
mail.
would it be helpful that when you do write the letter, that perhaps you ask the parent to sign, acknowledge that they received it, and send it back? So at least we would know how many did receive it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I
Good point.
kind of agree with Shaquille. I mean, this is like not pleasant to see only 10 out of 230. Is it considered a mandatory meeting with the parent, that they have to come? I would think that it should be mandatory.
A conscious attempt at getting the conference scheduled does need to be made. But there are many reasons why the actual face-to-face conversation did not take place. And that's something that we are going to be working on with Sandy, and how we're going to be messaging with that next year.
I think part of it is not that the conference wasn't necessarily scheduled, is that sites weren't necessarily trained in how to ensure that it's marked in the system. I think at parent-teacher conferences, other conferences, that those conferences are held. Parent is at school, they talk about it.
Right.
A conference technically was held, but it wasn't necessarily put into the system. So I think a big component is going to be to making the staff know that we want to be able to track this, and if a conference was held, we want to make sure that it's marked, so that we know that it has been held and we get a better metric. I think this year, as Mr. Blasio mentioned, the focus was on getting the letters out, making sure that there was phone calls made to families, attempts were made at conferences, not so much on reporting it into the system. So I think that there were far more than 10 that were held. I can probably assure you every school had at least one, so at least there were 14. But,
Oh, that's better, huh?
no, so I would guess that there were probably more than one at every school. It's just that they were not reported in the system.
Right.
Yeah, if they were covered during the regular parent-teacher conference, it's easy to not think about
true.
that, but we actually do need that data, so
Yeah.
that's our next stage,
That's,
is
yeah,
Right.
education.
it's kind of the purpose of doing it, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So this is your total absence summary, and for lack of a better term, we sometimes call this your chronic absentee report. So this is your district level report as of May 5th. This includes excused, unexcused absences, whether or not the students generated any kind of attendance letter that went home. This is just straight absences. So you've got about a 78-21 split, and I can tell you right now that typically with districts at this point in the year, we only see a 70-30 split. So you've actually got quite a high number of students in excellent and satisfactory, which is really wonderful to see, and you should be very proud of that. And again, a lot of time, and we talked about this the last time that we were here presenting, sites typically know who their severely chronic students are, and potentially they're chronic. The excellent and satisfactory students, you don't necessarily need to worry about a whole lot. They're not the ones with the behavior that is in danger of becoming chronic. But what we do always ask to focus on and recommend focusing on are these manageable students. And through the communication that is coming directly from Superintendent Vidalis, you are communicating with the students in the manageable group as of February. There are a few less students in there at that point in the year, but we did send a personalized letter to each of them, alerting the parent of how much school has passed, because especially mid-year point, those students may not have triggered any of the attendance notifications, so their parents may be unaware of how many absences are adding up, how close they may become to being chronically absent. So we're actively communicating with those students and their families to let them know how much school has been missed. So this is your current manageable group as of May 5th. So again, the students, there were 972 students that received that first tipping point notification, which I'll talk about in a little bit, to alert the parents of how much school has been missed at 5 to 10% of the school year at that point. It's very, very typical to see high numbers of students in the manageable group in the early grades, particularly kindergarten. There's a lot of times excessive excused absences are contributing to that. It's their first year in school, et cetera. So that's very common to see a high number in the kindergarten groups. When we're looking at comparative data, This is the truancy, the percentage of students that are truant in these grade levels as of May 5th. Your district is the red line, and the blue line is our California average of students on attention to attendance. And here we want lower percentages. So here you're outperforming our average of California districts. These are, again, students who have missed 3 or more full days of school for unexcused absences, 18 periods for your middle school grades. And so what this is saying is there's 14% of kindergartners that are truant, 7% of seventh graders that are truant. Excessive excused absences. Now, we know that this is a lot of times a harder conversation to have. This is, again, it's sometimes these conversations can be a little bit tricky. So we know that that these are also, though, important to address. We want to make sure the parents understand how many absences are adding up, even when they're excused absences. So these are students who've missed 7 or more full days of school, 42 periods for secondary, as of May 5th. And again, very common to see high numbers of excessive excused absences at the kindergarten level. Chronically absent students. These are the students that, as of May 5th, have missed 10% of the school year or more. So again, in the chronic category, you are, once again,